Buildy here. Let's take a little break. I'm tired of trying to convince people of the truth. You probably are too. You know it. I know it. To show you around my place. Might be interesting. It's my garden. I got a lot of work to do. Gotta paint the swing, gotta tear out that trampoline, it's old and falling apart. Gotta do a lot of things. It's my botchka, it's 1,000 liters. I used to have it plugged into the drain. The downspout from the roof was rusted off up there. So I just scabbed onto it and went into this 1,000-liter tank and we watered the garden with it. 20-minute rain. Light 20-minute rain will fill that puppy. Well, they put a new roof on the place and new downspouts and everything has to be standardized, so they bypassed me. I got a plan though. I'm going to relocate it and run it off of our addition roof. I'll show you my addition. Now you can kind of see it sticking out there. It's not standard anymore. We built an addition. Put about a third more space into the apartment because I had a very small apartment. These are Khrushchyovkas. A whole line of them here. Generally 100 apartments, 5 doors, standard. There's a lot of variations. So many different models. I don't remember what mine is. Model 21 or something like that. 5 doors. Each door has 4 apartments on each floor. And you go up the stairs and there's 5 floors. Soviet law said anything more than 5 floors you had to have an elevator. So they made the vast majority of them exactly 5 floors. No more, no less. They did not stop at 4 floors, but proceeded on to 5. And neither did they go on to 6 floors, but they stopped at 5. They're all 5 floors. They cheated a few of them around here because this ground is so rolling and hilly. One of our friends lives on the 6th floor and there's no elevator. But her end of the building is 6 floors. The rest of the building is only 5. They just added another floor where the basement kind of sticks out of the ground. But that's okay. There she is and all her radiant glory friends and neighbors. Not much to look at, but if you put a bunch of big huge linden trees around them in summertime, it's all right. I want to show the neighbor's place here. This unfinished building. Soviet Union collapsed while they were building that, and I think it was supposed to be some sort of part of the Naval Academy. And they just left it. It's been sitting ever since. I think they can't decide what to do with it. They'll probably do something. It's a big building. There was a Ukrainian Federal Police Academy next to it. It's a university now. Actually, it's not a university. It's a trade school. Nice trade school. We'll go take a look at their sign sometime. It shows you all the things they teach them there. It's pretty impressive. This will probably become the part of that complex. I don't know. The powers that be are deciding what to do with it. They don't leave stuff laying around empty. They'll find a use for it. They're renovating this whole outside area because it was broken concrete and all overgrown. They put new asphalt in. They redid the road. They're doing that side now. They brought good dirt in, good black soil put everywhere. There'll be all kinds of flowers and plants here soon enough. This spring probably. A lot of cherry trees, apricot trees, plum trees, fig trees, all over these buildings. You can help yourself in the proper season. Well, first let me show you the downstairs. They have a basement. Now this is where if NATO decides they want to take over your country and they're bombing you, or they find some Nazis or Islamic radicals or somebody to turn your country into chaos like they do everywhere else, this is where you go. You go down in here. This little sub basement. This is underneath the building. And people divide it all up and store stuff down here. There are several such doors leading into these places, and this is ours. We have a nice big storage. We had this walled in, hired a mason to do that, and put this steel door in here back when we moved in. It's very small. I had a little workshop here until it started getting so much stuff in it. Stuff you gotta store. My wife is like, I don't know. She has kind of a bag lady mentality. You can't throw anything away, ever. I got in big trouble for throwing stuff away that I thought was worthless. It was worthless, but yeah, it's not gonna get much more in here. Keep a stock of jarred canned goods and whatnot. It's hard to see how deep it is. Oh, that's my bicycle. I leave it out now. My daughter's riding it. I'm afraid to. I'm getting too old. She enjoys it. She was teaching her younger sister how to ride it yesterday. I think I put that video in. Yeah, I did. That's the old style locks. I still use these a lot. They're really, really effective. You build them into the door. Nothing wrong with that. I haven't cleaned the well out in a while. This collects trash. Wind blows all the trash in the whole area into it. You gotta clean it out regularly. There's another one there on that side of the building. Normally you have these lovely little locks that you push buttons on, but nobody ever shuts this door. You push the proper buttons in at the proper time, all at once, and then they open. Oh, mail. All 20 apartments, mail is right here. Now let's go up the stairs. 4 on each floor. That's how they're laid out. There's no way to put an elevator in here or a lift, just by nature of the way the stairs is arranged. Here we have 4 doors. Now this one goes all the way through that side with a balcony. This one goes all the way through that side with a balcony in front. This one being ours just goes that way, but it's much smaller because this one goes all the way through with a window in the back and a balcony in the front. This is the big one. I think it's 3 bedrooms, I don't remember. Ours is no bedrooms, it's just one room apart. You remember, watch this. You have kind of funky locks here. Got a set up here, set down there. Some of them even have sets on top. It's like a safe. Pretty good door. Oh, remember during the Olympics, the Sochi Olympics, they had these Americans that were, these stupid Russians have crappy old Soviet buildings, the locks don't work. And they kicked the door down. They claimed they couldn't get the lock open, so they kicked the door down. And there was a big, puff up about it. Hotels have different kind of locks than these. They have the old, it's almost like the locks they have in jails. You have to wind them up. You stick the key in and you go around several times, and you can feel it getting more and more tension, and then snap, once you achieve the correct amount of tension, it's got a spring in it, it pops the locks in. And you do the same thing to open it. You got to turn it, I don't remember how many times, you turn it until it stops turning, and then pow, the lock unlocks. They didn't know that. They just thought it was American lock. They stuck the key in and turned it to half a turn. It wouldn't open, so they freaked out and kicked the door down. What a bunch of fruitcakes. And that was all over the news about how stupid the Russians are. Do you know how that went over here? These idiots don't know how to use locks. There's a lot of that. It's really embarrassing. Anyway, you can lock this from the inside with a little snap lock, or That can't be open from the outside at all. My wife is away right now. She's coming back, so if I want a little security, I lock it from the inside, and she can use her key to unlock it from the outside that way. You follow me? Oh, I forgot to show you the electrical box. Oh, let's go back out here. This building was built in 1961. It's a year older than me. And that's mine. That's the neighbors. The cable guys jam their internet cables through the same circuits. It's kind of full. I had to replace that from here on down to the feed at the ground. It's aluminum. They used aluminum wire in the 60s, in the early 60s. Not good. They haven't replaced it. They put all new cables going to the buildings from the outside. And most people renovate their apartments and put new wiring in the buildings. We did ours, but you still got that aluminum wire outside. And they had these ceramic boxes. They were steel boxes. Inside that box, they had big ceramic jars that screw into it that you could take the jar apart and put a strip of copper in there. Well, it's a specific fuse, a specific thickness and width and gauge of copper. And that was refused, but it was so old, it was corroded, kept snapping, so I put a Simmons breaker in it. Haven't any problem. I had to do it while she was hot. I can't turn the electricity off. It's the main feed to all these. I don't know where you turn it off. Nobody seemed to. I did it hot, and I got that crap knocked out of myself a couple of times, sticking my hands in this little bitty box, trying to undo wires and stuff, but I did it. I take calculated risks. But I'm too old for that kind of crap. I put the Simmons box in it, and we haven't any more trouble. Anyway, my wife had this place totally redone. And originally, a Khrushchyovka, or whatever they call them, these Khrushchev buildings, this is a small, like, single man's apartment or a young married couple that doesn't have kids. It's just one room. The bathroom had a door here, and it had a transom up here, transom above the door, had a transom above the door there, and then they had a window on the outside wall. That's your ventilation. And it was just, it's not much now. Originally it was a basin, like a shallow tub, had a sink next to it, and then one tap in between them, and a long spout faucet that you could swivel from one to the other. You'd wash your clothes in the tub. Oh, it had a squat toilet too, because they didn't have these Western sit-down toilets for lazy people. They had squat toilets like the Far East. Western toilets is pretty much the norm now. It's not like Dubai. They're not good for you. It's better to have a squat toilet. No, you get old and you don't want one, or if you're morbidly obese or have other problems. These are nice. They got these everywhere. We redid this. This is all very high quality marble tile. And did have a shower unit that was jammed in there, but it got old. Nothing lasts there. Oh, the water heater. This door, for instance, the wheels puked out on the door. And so many times I replaced them, and then the track started wearing out where it's no good anymore. It started. And they don't make that stuff anymore. We had this place done, and now all the fittings and appointments, you can't get them. They change the stuff constantly. They're always changing it out. All the little details that you decorate your house with, and all the towel racks and the coat hangers and the slidey doors and the light fixtures, they change the design of them about every 6 months, and they never go back to that again. They got thousands of different varieties, but you're never ever, when something wears out or breaks and you go back to get something that matches it, they change it enough where it won't even interchange. You can't even make it work. So they want you to remodel your house every 2 years. Really. And it's disgusting. I hate it. And everything's made out of Chinesium. This is like thin as typing paper. I replaced towel racks, hinges, gas shocks on the cabinets, everything. Drawer sliders. I replaced everything in this house 5 or 6 times in 10 years. It's you can't get good stuff. I don't know if that's a European thing or a Russian thing or what. But oh, and the internals in the toilet. They finally got some good German stuff here. Before that, it was all Chinese. Paper, thin plastic. I mean, thin as typing paper. And it would shrink and crack and twist when it gets a couple of years old. It was formulated where it just started disintegrating. I replaced that probably at least 15 times. I grew up in the house where you never replaced it. It had an old brass float. It was the same one the whole time I grew up. It was probably the same one my oldest sister was like 20 years older than me. The one she used. Well, not that old. She's pretty old though. Never had to replace that stuff. This stuff, you just constantly are replacing stuff. I hate it. I could make all this stuff if I had a little shop. But I don't have a little shop. I never could get there. Never could get to that point. Like this thing here, I get some like 5/8 anchors and epoxy them in there, wedge anchors with epoxy, and then build something made out of metal and several coats of paint or aluminum and polish it and put it on there. It'd be nice looking, and you could do push-ups on it or pull-ups on it if you want to. I don't like this little dainty stuff that breaks when you look at it. That's all you could get around here. It's disgusting. So I wanted to build my own house. That's over with. It ain't gonna happen. I'm just trying to survive now. Yeah, my wife designed all this stuff. Slidey pocket doors, Japanese style stuff. Only they're plastic, not paper. It's good plastic though. It's been here a long time. It hasn't discolored or started getting hard. Well, anyway, yeah, these wheels. I was in the middle of talking about that and I got distracted. Yeah, I couldn't get them anymore, so I put skateboard wheels on them. Let me see that. It's kind of ugly looking, but this is a real heavy door. It's a double mirror, and it works because this track's worn out. So I can't use track wheels anymore. Can't even get them. Can't even get that kind of track anymore. So I put the skate wheels on it. Everything's crooked in a Khrushchyovka too. See, to make that line up straight, I had to jack the back end of the door up about 1 inch higher than the front. Everything is that crooked. That's almost touching, and that's up all the way. They didn't use plumber level when they built these. They built them in a hurry. They was bragging because they built these buildings in like 5 weeks. Each of these 5-story, 100-unit apartments took 5 weeks to build, and they built gazillions of them simultaneously because they had a housing shortage. Well, that's the divan. That folds out into a lovely, huge bed. And this is the kids' room. I got 2 boys and a girl, so that's not good. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. This is the addition we built on. See the little bump there? It's made out of very, very lightweight box tubing frame. Our neighbors had already built an extension, so we got their permission and everybody else's permission. Did everything legally and by the book. Built it. I spent about 10 grand renovating this place. That's pretty cheap. This is back in like 2006 though. 2007 maybe. It was 2006. But they built this place. It's got a tin roof. It's insulated. The outer wall, the inner wall, and the other outer wall is all foam block. They use that a lot here. It's foamed concrete. It has very little strength, but a very high insulation properties. And it don't need strength because it's not holding anything. It's just a filler wall. The extension of the building is made out of box tubing. Thin metal box tubing. With a tin roof. Originally had an asphalt roof. But the upstairs neighbors had threw their cigarettes on it and it burnt little holes in the asphalt and started leaking. So we got a tin roof now. Now they throw breadcrumbs out on it and thousands or hundreds of pigeons come in and peck it. So it sounds like hail first thing in the morning. I'm not complaining, it's just part of living here. It's just charming, I think. Oh, we got air conditioning now. That's the kind they generally use around here. The inside, outside ones. I think they're just starting to get those in the U.S. That's our unit out there. All these windows, so very nice. And again, we got the fixtures. One of those things fell off and broke. You can't get them anywhere. It's impossible. They want you to replace the whole thing. They'll make one design of something, they'll make a production run of them, then they'll throw the tooling away and make something else, or modify it, make something else completely different. Nothing fits anything for it. It's a trick. Corporations. Oh, this one here is broke too. But I just leave it. Got 3 kids. Stuff happens. Oh, this is supposed to have halogens. I got one halogen in it. I'm going back to halogens. Because I put LEDs in it. The LEDs are pricey. They're pretty darn expensive, really. But they're supposed to last like forever. Ha ha! These don't. These are garbage. I bought these. They don't last any longer than the halogens. And they go out all the time. I mean, in a month I'll replace 4 or 5 of these lights. Every freaking month I have 4 or 5 lights burn out. Even I'm replacing them with LEDs. Some of them are all right. These little ones up here are LEDs, and I haven't had any problem with them going out. Some of them been in there about a year. Maybe they'll last. I was going to replace everything with LEDs until the LEDs go out just as often as the halogens. You get crappy stuff. Do they have a problem with that in Europe or the US or not? Probably will. It's a corporate thing. Why make things right when you sell more when you make them when they screw up? There's no competition. There isn't any. There should be. They want this great reset and they want to change everything where you're renting everything in your life from them and you'll be happy. I've talked about that before. We need to make our own great reset where we have local craftsmen building everything you need. You don't have to live in the dark ages or be a caveman to do that. We have the technology. People can make nice stuff. It's not going to be high-tech and computerized, but you can make nice stuff and you can live very freaking well with. Old incandescent bulbs. I think there's a story about a light bulb in a fire station out in California that's been continuously burning for like 80 years. The way they made the original light bulbs, they kind of overdid it. Real thick glass, a lot of vacuum, and real high quality tungsten, real thick. And it lasts for 100 years. Yeah, they finally got smart on that stuff. We saved money on production to make everything paper thin. Step on the materials in it, make alloys out of cheaper materials, and they only last like 6 or 8 months, maybe a year at the most. You sell more of them, and then go from there. All downhill. That's the way everything works. Look at the cars we had back in the 60s. They were magnificent. Anyway. Oh, this is about my house. I got off on a rant. I'm sorry. This place is so crooked. And it's moving too. It's a huge building. It's built out of big giant slabs they took from the quarries. Yeah, I've noticed in the mainland and most areas of Russia, they built them out of concrete post and beam. Here, they built them out of huge slabs. Instead of, concrete post and beam, they use regular fired brick for infill. Here, instead of using fired brick for infill, they have quarries. Huge limestone and marble quarries up in the highlands in Crimea. And they had slabs that weren't really good enough to make fine marble out of or tiles or anything. They're kind of crude. They kind of had imperfections. Well, that's what they built these buildings out of. They're slabs. They're about almost a foot thick, and or probably more than a foot thick. And they're about 9 feet long, 3 or 4 feet high. Just big Legos, and they stacked them up and drove pins in them and welded plates in them to stick them together. This building's built into that, and they shift around a bit. We had this place redone, and oh, you look at the lines on this. This refrigerator's level. It's sticking way out at the bottom and up and narrow at the top because the walls are all crooked. That's just how they roll. They stuck them together real quick. I don't care. I can roll with it. If you did everything by hand and decorated it yourself, made your own stuff for it, it wouldn't matter. getting factory-made, mass-produced stuff and sticking it in here, it's a problem. You're going to have gaps. But I don't see any glaring examples of it here. All this cabinetry, they use the gas shocks on this stuff. You got to replace them about every freaking year. And the hinges, the drawer slides, they're all just crap. I'd like to build a place just from scratch myself, but it takes a lot of money to do that. And you can't find it. I could find the stuff in the U.S. I could find everything I wanted. Use a lot of industrial stuff. And it looked nice, too, when I got done. My wife would be very skeptical of that, but it'd look nice. And it would last for generations instead of months. But anyway, it's pretty nice. I like it here. It's too small for us. They have standards for how much square footage you need for what size family. We're way under. I'm eligible for this huge handout where we get a bigger place, but you got to have money to go with it to change places. Besides, I like it here. I love this neighborhood. I wanted to just buy the apartment next door, the big one, but unless some sort of miracle happens, that's not going to happen. It's just going to have to really have a really close family. Be nice to compromise things a little bit. Maybe put some curtains or little walls up so the kids have a little better privacy. But my wife is a fashionista. Everything has to be beautiful and very stylish, and no compromises are made against that. So we suffer for the sake of fashion. Oh, this is her right here. Her artist friend made that rendering of her. That's supposed to be her. That's an artist interpretation. Kind of scary, actually. But she made one of my daughter. Yeah, look at this. Very traditional. It's my daughter. My middle daughter. Youngest daughter. Looks just like her. Having tea, being traditional. She hasn't made any of me. I hope she doesn't. I don't care what people think of me. And that's a good thing. Yeah, probably most of the time it's a good thing. Well, there's a playground outside. You can watch the kiddies play. This is where they do their homework, these desks. Well, that's about it. The plumbing, oh God. They stick. It's PVC pipe, but they don't use glue. They stick together with heat. They got this little tool that heats up the inside and the outside, and you jam them together, kind of like melt them together. I don't like that. But I don't mess with it much. The Soviet Union, they just welded all the pipe together. All your pipe is welded. Never have to mess with it. And your neighborhood caretakers, every neighborhood has like these maintenance people. Yeah, they would go in there and do the original pipe. I gotta shut it off. Gotta go.